This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not dispense medical advice. Always seek the advice of a physician or other qualified health providers if you have any questions regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking such advice because of something you have heard on this podcast. Welcome to a show that we like to call Prostate Cancer Real Talk. Did you know that in the U.S., 1 out of every 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer during his lifetime? 1 out of 8. And black men are 50% more likely to develop prostate cancer in their lifetime and twice as likely to die from the disease. But hey, we're not here to quote statistics and tell you how tough prostate cancer can be. Rather, we are here to create a supportive community of survivors. A place where we can discuss the real-life coping methods from the perspective of a married couple who are living through it day by day. Our hosts, Elle and Shay. This is Prostate Cancer Real Talk.
In this episode, we welcome Angela Dennison. Angela is a registered dietitian, licensed nutritionist, and the Engagement and Nutrition Manager at Wellness House, a community-based organization providing a holistic environment for patients and families who are facing the challenge of cancer. Wellness House programs educate, support, and empower participants in order to help them improve their physical and emotional well-being. Today, our discussion with Angela will focus on the role of diet and nutrition as a complement to cancer treatment. Ellen Shay, take it away.
Thank you, Dennis, for that great introduction as usual. And welcome Angela and Shay to the podcast today. It's great to be with you today.
Thank you. Likewise.
So, Angela, let's start out by hearing from you a little bit about your background and also kind of a thumbnail sketch about your work.
Well, I'm a registered dietitian, and I have been at Wellness House for 8 years now. I decided to go back to school to get my Bachelor of Science in nutrition and dietetics, kind of in my mid-20s. I became really interested in nutrition at that point due to my job that I was, in. And so kind of just worked my way, 5 years full-time school, 5 years full-time work, and just, got my degree done. I also have quite a background of hosting cooking classes, which has really been a fantastic skill to have as a dietitian, especially at Wellness House, because we have a beautiful kitchen. So I just really love to feed people and help them improve their nutrition and health through their food.
Okay. So you mentioned Wellness House. Tell us a little bit about Wellness House and your work there.
We are just a really great nonprofit organization. We offer psychosocial support to anyone impacted by a cancer diagnosis. So that can be, of course, the diagnosed individual, but we all know that there's a ripple effect, right? So family, close friends, inner circle, we provide support to all of those folks as well. So everything from emotional well-being to physical health. We do a lot of programs, over 500 a month, in order to support those that are impacted by cancer. Our programs allow us to serve a lot of people at once. And, it could be support and counseling, an educational presentation, a cooking class, a stress management class. And so all of these programs do help us treat the person as a whole. So we kind of pick up where the doc leaves off. And with the nutrition programs, we do a lot of educating with cancer and nutrition. We do a lot of myth busting because there's a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to cancer and nutrition. We offer side effect management support. So if someone is navigating treatments like chemotherapy, radiation, immunotherapy, even hormonal therapies, we can provide side effect management support in order to help them eat and hydrate as best as they can. We also offer individual nutrition consultations. So if someone wants to come and get more of a tailored nutrition support, that's where they can make an appointment with myself or our other dietitian. And then our cooking classes. So we do have a pretty heavy culinary emphasis at Wellness House. We have a great kitchen. So we offer programs on site as well as throughout the Chicagoland area. I've kind of created this kitchen on wheels so we can literally do cooking classes anywhere. Just give me a room and an outlet and a table. That's all I need. But the culinary piece to me is incredibly important because we love to teach about healthy eating. Absolutely. However, cooking is what puts these recommendations onto your plate into action. And so, I think it's just as important as the knowledge itself, right? So showing people how to work with the foods we're recommending, getting them to taste it, that is really what makes the biggest difference that I see.
Have you considered a clinical trial as your next step? Pfizer is researching a potential treatment option for adult men with metastatic prostate cancer. You can learn more at www.mevpro-studies.com. That's MEVPRO-studies.com.
Okay, so I like the fact that you said myth busters. So can you give us some examples of that? Because I'm all about nutrition. And, Elle was, in case you don't know, but, he's a prostate cancer survivor and he was diagnosed in 2020. So ever since, I've really been trying to figure out the do's and the don'ts and the best foods to prepare, the right way to prepare them. And I'm in this journey with him. So whatever he eats, I generally eat, with the exception of meat, which he eats every once in a while, but because I don't eat meat. But so give us some of the myths that's out there about, cancer and nutrition, or nutrition and cancer.
One of the big ones. So we recommend a plant-based diet. However, what makes that term tricky is people have their own definition to it. So when we say plant-based, we mean plant-centered, plant-focused, right? So there is room for dairy, meat, eggs, seafood in a cancer-fighting diet. Now, there's certainly recommendations around those foods, but it is a common misconception that one has to be vegan or eat all of their veggies raw in order to get all of their nutrients. But research shows that's just simply not true.
Okay. So what are the things and what are the best ways that we should prepare our foods? And what are some of the foods we should be eating? And then how should we prepare those foods?
Yes. So any plant food is on the table, right? So all of your plants, specifically cruciferous vegetables, show to have just overall really great health effects on our bodies, is also known to be to help reduce risk of recurrence for prostate cancer. Our foods that we eat, our plants specifically, they have a compound in them called phytochemicals, also called phytonutrients. So kind of interchangeable. But the color of the food is highly tied to the type of phytonutrient that is concentrated in that food. And so phytonutrients are one of the reasons plants are so highly recommended for cancer, because they help they help stimulate our immune system, protect our DNA, help regulate hormones. They do a lot. And so they are tied to the colors of our food, only found in plants. And so also that's just another reason why plants are so heavily recommended.
So if I am a prostate cancer patient, please walk us through a day, of meals. What's my breakfast like, what's my lunch like, and what's my dinner like, and then what can I snack on, so we can give our listeners an actual example of some of the foods that they can be eating to help them with their cancer treatments and diagnosis of cancer.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And I will give you some examples, but one thing I want to say first is one of the most important things to consider when we're making dietary recommendations for an individual is understanding how they're handling their treatments and what side effects they have, because those recommendations will be personalized to those side effects.
Okay.
So just wanted to say that. So if someone has constipation, right, versus diarrhea, we have kind of different recommendations. So just want to say that side effects play a big role on what we'll recommend for the individual. Okay. So just wanted to say that.
So for breakfast, you just mentioned everything is customized.
Right, exactly.
So when it comes to breakfast, we often think of it as the most important meal of the day. I disagree. I do think it sets the tone for your day, right? So what you eat kind of sets your energy levels and how you're feeling. And so I think it's more of a tone setter, right? Because every meal is important if you think about it. So with breakfast, in prostate cancer specifically, eggs are tied to an increased risk of prostate cancer. It's mainly
Really?
Yes, it's mainly the egg yolk. And so egg yolks are concentrated in choline, which have been found to be concentrated in prostate cancer cells. So the recommendation for prostate cancer is no more than 2 egg yolks per week. Now, the whites are fine, no issues with the whites, but it's really just the egg yolk itself. So you could essentially have, an egg once or twice a week, or just an egg white scramble. But honestly, one of my favorite breakfasts, and this might sound kind of boring, however, is really good oatmeal. And what I like to do is season it up nice. Yeah, healthy eating does not have to be bland. And I think that's a common misconception. So I love a good oatmeal, whether it's steel cut, rolled oat, nutritionally speaking. They're all the same. So whatever you have time for, cook it up. And I'd like to make like a little, I'll either put fresh fruit on it or even frozen if that's all I have, but I'll throw some frozen berries in a pot and just warm it up with a little cinnamon, little maple syrup, and put that on my oatmeal. But oatmeal in general is incredibly filling. It helps stabilize energy, blood sugar, and it's good for either constipation or diarrhea. So it's kind of like this equalizer meal. So I do think that's one of the best ways to start off. Now, adding some nuts or seeds and flax seeds or chia seeds to the actual oatmeal, the protein will help you feel more satiated as well. So I do love a good oatmeal with some kind of fruits, seasoned nicely with some kind of nuts or seeds in them.
Just a reminder, to ensure that you stay up to date on the latest episodes from Prostate Cancer Real Talk, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button.
So in terms of meat, are red meats off limits?
So not necessarily off limits. However, there is a recommendation to reduce the intake of all red meat. So red meat is beef, pork, lamb, goat. We're often surprised by the pork. We think pork's the other white meat, but it is the other red meat.
That's the marketing. It's good. Smart marketing, but
yeah.
not healthy.
Yes. But with red meat specifically, there is evidence to show that it can increase risk for a variety of cancers. However, if you do eat red meat, the recommendation is ideally no more than 18 ounces in 1 week. And when you're sitting down to eat, it's about a 3-ounce serving size. So when you're thinking of a plant-forward plate, that's an ideal size for your protein, 3 ounces. And so, it doesn't have to be avoided, but it is recommended. They're limited.
We like to grill, and we haven't done it in a while. So grilling versus in the oven, what's better in that regard?
So not only do we have to be mindful of how much animal protein we're eating, but the cooking method also plays a role in, some risk factors. And grilling, unfortunately, is something that is something to be watched when you're eating animal proteins. And so because grill can be really high flame, can have that charring, and that's what we love about it, but that's actually what we want to reduce. So actually, animal proteins themselves, when they're grilled and charred, there are compounds formed that are known to be carcinogenic. And so, but there's still a way to grill and enjoy your meat. So actually marinating your meat in some kind of acid and fat prior to grilling can decrease some of those compounds that are created during the grilling process. You can start the cook on your meat inside and just finish it off on the grill. So it has that taste, but it's not, gaining all of that char. You could also, so that's the biggest thing that you want to keep in mind. But it is recommended you do those methods first prior to grilling.
Now, what if you have a gas grill like we do? Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with any nuanced differences, but but both can cause that char.
So, Angela, are there any scientific findings that show the benefit of a healthier diet or a plant-based diet and either the avoidance or maintaining of a healthy diet? Are there any scientific benefits that, say, a prostate cancer patient should know about?
Absolutely. Cancer in general, we have these kind of generalized recommendations, right? And then certain diagnoses have a little bit more research to them to identify factors that increase risk or decrease risk. Prostate cancer, we happen to know a pretty decent amount about. So, when we're talking big picture, we're always going to recommend focusing on just eating more plants. So that's going to be a recommendation for everyone. And we focus on small changes to really start to become our habits, longevity, lifelong, not short term. But what research does show is that a plant-forward way of eating does help reduce risk of a lot of different chronic diseases, cancer being one of them, heart disease, type 2 diabetes. And then we get into the nuanced information of prostate cancer, where it's recommended you limit your egg yolks to 2 per week and keep that red meat to a minimum. Avoid your processed meats, your sausages, hot dogs, a lot of the deli meats, things like that. Whole milk or full fat milk is also is a link to increased risk of prostate cancer. So it's recommended you go low fat and keep consumption of that to a minimum as well, about a serving per day. But one great resource I use all the time is AICR. It's the American Institute for Cancer Research. And so AICR.org is their website. They have a phenomenal information about cancer and nutrition and lifestyle factors. So it's available to everyone. So everyone can go to their website, utilize their information. I certainly utilize their information when putting together presentations and recommendations for people. But it's a really, really great source.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about the Wellness House. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned your location. It sounds like you're in the general Chicagoland area. Are you exclusive to the Chicagoland area, or, our listeners are all over the country? Mm-hmm. What if I'm in, Atlanta, mm-hmm. and I want to learn more about the benefits of some of the issues that you're talking about dietary, in addition to the AICR site? What can Wellness House do, or what do you do to help people that may not be in the geographical location where you are?
Absolutely. So yes, we have one main physical location, and that's in Hinsdale, Illinois. But we bring our programs throughout the Chicagoland area through different partners. So Miles Square Health Center, Rush Chicago, Loyola and Maywood. So we bring our programs to all different, areas of Chicagoland, which is really great, because then we get to reach people who normally wouldn't have free access to these kinds of services. And, what COVID brought about was we now, can offer plenty of online programs, in which we do. And so we do have a lot of in-person. But if anyone's out of the state or too far, or just really not feeling well because of treatment, and so they don't want to come in for a program, there are online offerings. And so that really is the best way for anyone who is far to kind of tap into our services. So if you go to our website, wellnesshouse.org, you can see our PDF. So that's pretty much our program guide. It will indicate if the program is online or in person. Now, there may be some restrictions based on licensure with different states. Like, for example, me as a dietitian, there are certain states I can't just provide a consult for you because of the licensure restrictions. And that goes for some of our counselors as well. But overall, no matter where you are, you can still tap in to our resources.
If a person wants a consultation mm-hmm. with a dietitian, and you or somebody on your team, is that available to people?
Absolutely. When someone wants to make a consult, they can either call us directly, call our main line, and we'll get connected with them.
And that phone number to that?
The main line is 630-323-5150. So that's our main line. So you can call for really anything. They'll connect you to what you're looking for. But yes, we'll connect with the individual, and we want to have an understanding of where they're at with their treatment, what their current nutrition needs are, what other health conditions are they being treated for, right? Because it all plays a role into what these recommendations will be. But that's why we like to make it personalized. We don't just show up to our consult and say, here, this is what you need to know. We want to know really what they're seeking and how we can best support them and what they need in the moment. And that we can do consultations in person, on Zoom, on the phone. I can even email information. So we're pretty flexible.
Is there a charge? Is there a fee for that service?
No. So we are a nonprofit. We do not charge you. We do not charge your insurance. There's no exchange of money whatsoever. Our programs are truly at no cost to you and anyone receiving our support.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like this video to keep seeing more content like this from us. It will also benefit YouTube's algorithm, helping to introduce our content to others who may need it most.
So can you connect the dots for us with the exercise, cancer, or, doing your treatment? Because we kind of focus on that, now a lot with L. Even before cancer, we exercise a lot, but we've been reading a lot how important exercise is after a cancer diagnosis.
Absolutely. And, I'm not an expert in the world of exercise. We do have exercise specialists on our team that are specialized in working with cancer patients. So just want to say that. But, as we're looking at health, it's a puzzle, right? So nutrition tends to be a big focus, and for good reason. We know what we eat impacts our health overall, but it's just a piece of that puzzle. Mm-hmm. Right. And so your physical health through exercise is also going to be helpful. For example, there are some side effects that could be minimized through gentle movements, such as yoga. Movement can help stimulate appetite. So if someone has really poor appetite, they're losing weight, that movement can potentially help increase their appetite. It can help sustain lean muscle mass, which is very important. We have some cancer-specific exercise groups. We do have a specific prostate exercise group. Oh, wow. So our specialist really focuses on the unique needs of that group. And we have a breast cancer specific group, and then more general. But overall, when we're thinking of the person as a whole, it will include that nutrition, that exercise, that stress management, sense of community. All of that will play a role. And just, someone's health and well-being.
So can you talk about a little bit how maybe a person come in initially and then once they're done with your services, how they leave?
Absolutely. And yes, you kind of said it, right? So our services really do help, quality of life overall, lift your spirits. And we do that through all of our programs, right? So, one thing that's really great about being in person is folks get to create a sense of community with one another.
Yes.
So whether you're diagnosed or you're a caregiver, you get to connect with others who are going through very similar situations and understand where you're at, and you can talk freely about your experience. Mm-hmm. And so that alone, can really help folks just feel a little less, stressed and so much in their head with their diagnosis. A diagnosis brings everything from, of course, fear. So not only just fear of the cancer itself, but fear of food. So talking to one of our counselors about that fear and processing it. So whether that's individual or in a support group, are the type of programs that we offer. It is shown that it does increase, your overall well-being. So many folks who, they tell us, you saved my life. Yeah. I wouldn't have got through this without Wellness House. And we hear that very, very often. And it's amazing to hear. And, we have a really, really great staff. And, I always like to say you have to give yourself credit too, because we have this, but you're utilizing it and to your most benefit. And, that's not always easy to do in such a crisis situation. In the midst of a cancer diagnosis, it can be chaotic, can feel like we lose control. So, sometimes the question is, okay, what can I do? Where can I start? And nutrition is often a big piece of that. Same with the exercise. So I think overall, together, all of our programs really do help. But our support and counseling team, they're the experts. They are phenomenal.
So one of the topics we've talked about previously, and it's coming to my mind as you're speaking, one of the topics that we covered was a podcast called You Are Not Alone. Mm-hmm. And from our own personal experience, one of the things that happens when you're first diagnosed, you kind of feel like, wow, I may be alone in this. I know that I have a great spouse, but I think that knowing that there are other people that are facing this challenge, and specifically there are organizations like Wellness House out there with these tremendous resources available to support a person who is diagnosed with any illness or cancer, and specifically we're talking about prostate cancer, that there are other people. And as you mentioned, interacting with those people and knowing that you're not alone and just knowing about these different resources, it's just a tremendous benefit, and it can help you physically as well as mentally, emotionally. So, as we come toward the conclusion of our discussion, can you kind of recap the whole topic of Wellness House, diet, nutrition, and its role in the treatment or just the overall role in good health and specifically prostate cancer?
Well, Wellness House, we're a nonprofit. We offer supportive programs to anyone that is, experiencing impact of cancer. So diagnosed individuals, loved ones. Our goal is to help, empower and strengthen their experience and gain coping skills and things like that in order to better their overall health and lives. And so we're just a great place to go when you're not sure where to go. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because we will plug you in with someone based on what you're looking for in that moment. Our nutrition programs are, they're pretty popular. Nutrition itself it can be a confusing topic because Dr. Google, your celebrity, influencers, we constantly hear, oh, well, so-and-so said this. And, so we are constantly trying to just make sure our folks are getting good evidence-based information. And so, we work really hard on that. But we will educate on overall nutrition, kind of generalized. I also have a presentation, Healthy Eating for Prostate Cancer. So not only do we talk about the general recommendations, but we get into more of the nitty-gritty prostate recommendations. So factors that are known to increase risk, factors known to decrease risk. So all of that, I have a whole hour presentation. And then there's a couple of things that have been identified. So diets high in lycopene. Lycopene is a type of phytochemical that's found in like red, orange, yellow hued foods. But the role of lycopene consumption shows to decrease risk for prostate cancer diagnosis. Mm-hmm. So, and what's interesting about lycopene is it's found in a lot of different foods. Tomatoes is probably our biggest source of lycopene. However, raw tomatoes versus a cooked tomato sauce, lycopene is a fat-soluble phytonutrient, and it actually becomes more concentrated when it's cooked and when it's cooked with a source of fat. So if you're having your pasta once a week with your marinara sauce, that's actually a really great source of lycopene. So diets high in lycopene are recommended. And then consumption of more cruciferous veggies, right? Your cabbage, your broccoli, your cauliflower, things of that nature, as long as it's tolerated. We tend not to, when we look at the world of veggies, we typically get enough of our starchy veggies, right? We get our potatoes and our corn and our peas. And there's nothing wrong with those foods. It's all about how we cook them. Potatoes can be actually very nourishing, but we just don't get enough of the other stuff, right? So that's why there's such a focus on increasing your leafy greens and your cruciferous vegetables. Overall, fish is shown to be, your fatty fish, omega-3s, are shown to be a type of food that can decrease risk. Soy. And there's, when we talked about myths earlier, soy was also one that always comes to mind. I'm always asked about soy and its, risk with cancer. Really early research suggested that. But what we now know is soy in its most natural forms and wholesome forms. So that includes tofu, which is soy curd. Tempeh, it's fermented soy with some grain. You also have your soy milk, your miso, your soy nuts. So, again, the foods that are in their most natural form can decrease risk for a lot of cancers. In fact, soy is considered one of our top cancer fighting foods, and it is recommended for prostate cancer. And there's some research to suggest that eating, I think it's a serving of soy a day, can decrease some of the side effects from the ADT.
ADT is?
It's the androgen deprivation therapy. And so some folks may experience like hot flashes and things like that, but eating soy foods can potentially help minimize those side effects.
So we're not talking about soy sauce that you put on Chinese food, right?
It's different. And there's nothing wrong with your soy sauce. It's not increasing risk, but it certainly does not have the same nutrient content than those other ones. Sometimes
I'm in the kitchen and we'll have like Chinese food and I'll be over in the corner trying to sneak soy sauce. So I bought the low sodium soy sauce. But, I still have the soy police rationing out my soy sauce on my Chinese food. So there's a reason why she asked that question.
Soy sauce, right? It doesn't show to increase risk for cancers. The fact that you get low sodium, fantastic, right? Because we tend to get too much excess sodium anyhow.
Well, Angela, it's really been our pleasure to meet you and to hear all the wonderful things that you and your associates are doing at Wellness House. This is great information. Do you have any parting thoughts that you'd like to share before we conclude?
I just want to thank you so much for having me and having this conversation with me. There's so much to share. I feel like we could talk all day and still not cover all of the information. But I just so appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit more about, nutrition and prostate cancer. Sharing knowledge is so powerful. And so also just sharing about Wellness House, what we can offer families, individuals as they're navigating a cancer experience. It's really, really helpful and great. And again, we just so appreciate the opportunity to share.
Okay, well, thank you very much for being with us. And you have to promise to come back and spend some more time with us because, like you said, this is a wonderful and interesting topic. And I'm sure there are many more things that we can discuss in the future. So thank you. Absolutely. It's been our pleasure. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
Thanks, Angela. Bye. Thank you for being on the podcast.
The study medicine in the MEVPRO clinical trials is designed to block the abnormal EZH2 activity in cells. With the study medicine's help, the abnormal EZH2 no longer promotes cell growth, and the flow of traffic returns to its normal state, and tumor growth is delayed or prevented. The goal of the MEVPRO clinical trials is to determine whether this study medicine, taken as tablets by mouth, is safe and effective. During these clinical trials, you will have regular visits to the study site, and your health and cancer will be closely monitored by medical professionals. You may experience side effects from the study medicine, such as diarrhea and fatigue. More information will be provided during the informed consent process.
To find out more information on the guest you just heard or previous guests and a list of Prostate Cancer Real Talk episodes, visit our website, prostatecancerrealtalk.com. And if you have a question, comment, or if you would like to share your story, send Ellen Shea an email, l&shay@prostatecancerrealtalk.com. That's L-E-L and Shay, S-H-A-Y, at prostatecancerrealtalk.com.